Boone, North Carolina, the setting of one of Abysmal Plains' most recent project, Allelopathy, is a reflection of how some of the things in our life change and morph us as people, and her journey coming back to nature at the end of the day, it being set in one of the prettiest places in the world. Abysmal Plains, Hannah, is one of my favorite people to talk to about music because we don't just talk about music, we talk about love, relationships, and how some of these things change us and change our perspective on the way that we feel about things. How we're able to shape our sound and our identity and create something beautiful out of some of the darkest periods of our lives. It's a fun conversation that I'm excited to share with everyone because it's something we talk about a lot. How some of these things cause us to feel misshapen and misunderstood, grieving and moving on out of survival and moving forward with a new sense of self, kind of like allelopathy.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Abysmal Plains, aka my friend Hannah. If you wanted to just introduce yourself really quickly and tell everybody a little bit about you.
Yeah, my name's Hannah. I am from North Carolina, and I feel like I got a lot of inspiration from my time there. I'm currently living in Virginia. I go under the name Abysmal Plains for my solo project. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that I started in like 2019 just because I wanted to, and I felt like I had something to say. I
Mm-hmm.
was super inspired by Mitski, and so I originally bought a guitar for like $40 just because I wanted to play her songs. Like it wasn't enough just to hear them. I had to like embody it. And so once I bought that guitar, I just started fiddling around and started writing my own songs. And actually the first finished song I wrote on guitar was Virginia's for Lovers.
Yes.
Um, and so I've just been doing it throughout the years, and of course our relationships changed, but um it's inspired by stuff that's really important to me, like nature, relationships, connection. And so, yeah, I just hope to like explore my feelings through music. And yeah,
I
I'm
love that.
always outside, and I'm always like in a river somewhere, and that's where I like to be. It's my zen.
You're our modern day pop princess of Boone, hailing from the Mountain Queen.
Right.
I like to say that we're like in the same universe because I like to think of myself as like a forest fairy. And for the visuals of this most recent project, you're literally getting baptized in the woods. So in a way, like I feel like Nui and Abysmal Plains are like running around in the woods somewhere.
Yes. We're
But I wanted
running
to,
around, we're wreaking havoc.
yeah, so we're lighting things on fire, but we're also like giggling and running away.
It's giving birth.
I
Thing.
wanted to touch on your first project, Letters to Non-Lovers, for anybody who is new to you, and talk a little bit about that album, how that came about, and how it kind of inspired this album, or like what's kind of different about it.
Yeah, that album, or that EP, it is an EP. Um, that project was kind of a work of survival for me.
Yeah.
At the, I wasn't like planning on writing songs, publishing songs, playing in front of a
Mm.
stage. It was not something I like had on my radar in my 5 year plan. But there was like a lot of, I'm going to be a little vague, but in my, at the time I started writing, there were stories about me being told
Mm.
without like, my side being told.
Yeah.
And so I started writing songs because I wanted people to be able to hear my story, but it felt like I couldn't say it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the songs are like a confessional almost of like, here's what happened, here's how I feel, and kind of like trying to reclaim my story.
Yeah.
And so when I look back at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so brazen. Like I just wrote the songs, I published them, and I didn't even think twice. Like I was like, yeah, I'm just doing this. And now like this project, I'm so scared to release it, and like it's been an emotional journey, but um, yeah, I felt like I had to. And so it's super, when I look back at it, I feel like it's definitely 19-year-old me. Like it's me kind of throwing my shit
Yeah.
around and like having a fit and saying what I wanted to say. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And it took me a long time to listen to it afterwards too. It took me like a year before I could
Yeah.
listen to it again because it
Is
was just,
there a song that you feel like on that specific project that you hold close? Like I think about how you, as you said, like 19 years old, were like very descriptive, like even giving out like Ridgewood Drive, you know what I mean? Like being very brazen in a sense of like you're one of the most iconic writers in a sense where if I know you personally, like kind of knew what was going on and what the subject matter was about, which is really interesting. And it reminds me of a recent movie that I just watched like last night in terms of like why we write as writers. It is like in a similar way to communicate what you were basically just saying, like things that we feel like we can't say in a way where it's like that we just want to be heard or understood.
yeah.
And then the job of a writer, sadly enough, is like you have to just keep trying until one day, like I guess the hope part is what is the sad part is like you just keep trying and trying until you feel like you're heard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that song that you mentioned, Ridgewood Drive, would be my answer to like what song I hold close. That song, and yeah, you're right. It's like very much a diary entry. Like if you knew me, you knew
Yes.
who I was talking
Yeah.
about, when I was talking about. And I think that was on purpose too. Like I feel like my writing is very much a storytelling narrative of what's going on. And I think that was part of that reclaiming of like, yeah, this
And it
happened. Like
yeah.
I want you to know. I
But
mean, the first lyric is like, your name makes a lot of sense. Like I was like, I said his name at the beginning. I'm not even trying to hide it. But like
yeah.
that's what I would play to myself all the time because it just made me feel better and like it was
Yeah.
therapeutic, that song.
And in a way, I feel like the truth, like having a space to be able to share your truth is what probably like one of the most important things ever. Not even like as artists, but as people to be able to say what you want to say without it having. I mean, granted, it gets judged like via criticism, but like to have this space to be like, this is my project, like, and this is what I said about whatever happened. I feel like,
Yeah, and it's not like a text post on a black screen.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I'm be
It's
mad because of the song.
in a way it's kind of giving like it just takes so much time that it's kind of iconic no matter
Right,
sorry, like it is like and
right.
I think about the sad songs that I write about specific people that don't deserve it, and I'm like it at the end of the day it requires so much effort like to put that together.
No, it does.
But anyways, with this upcoming project, I am so proud of you, like as a friend, to see all of the visuals and stuff like that, music videos, and having a proper rollout. You've even been participating in the
No,
TikToking.
I have. The TikToks are so hilarious. Like Instagram, I really try and curate, and then TikTok, I'm like, oh, I'll throw this up.
Yeah,
Mm.
and I eat it up every time because it's so good. It's literally so good.
Thank you.
But talk to me a little bit about putting the visuals together. I know that I was there for the music video shooting, and I wanted to say that maybe that was like the first, was that the kickoff point for you?
No, I mean that was like we filmed that in 2021. I feel like that was one of the songs I really, really liked. And then I liked a couple more songs I'd written over that year, but not, it was never enough. Like I didn't have enough for an album.
Yeah.
So I like kept my favorites and then I wasn't really writing that much or like what I was writing, I was like, eh. Or it was just kind of incohesive. Like those songs and then what I was writing about or what I wanted to write about weren't really like meshing completely. Like it would have been an odd piece of work as
Yeah.
but the kickoff really happened when like I went through some stuff right after college. Like I went through a really weird bad relationship, and so I started writing a lot after that. It sent me through this whole growth period of like deciding, okay, what am I doing? Like
Yeah.
where do I want to go? I know the stuff I've been doing has not been that great. Like my relationship patterns were hell on earth, and like I was just dating all the worst kinds of people and
The
like getting my
bar the bar
education.
was in hell,
The
but we
bar
had
was a different bar than that.
but we had each other. We really
Right.
did.
Right. So my friends definitely, bless their hearts, got me through
Yeah.
all of that, listened to everything I had to say. But having that latter half of the album and all those songs really kicked me into gear where I was like, all right, like now I have enough. I need to do something with these. Like I've just been brewing. I want to do something with these. Um, and then I was also kind of just, I was visually really inspired by the work too. Like with 222, I just released the like visualizer for that. Um, I like every time I listened to the song, I had like this choreography in my mind and like would like for almost a year I think act it out when I was listening to the song. And so I was like, well, I had to do something with it. It was just very visually inspiring, like being in the water. I wanted to do something with that. And um, so I knew I had to do something for that song. And then, of course, I already had Street Lamp done and ready, and I wanted to release that
Yeah.
as so I wanted to release Street Lamp and have an updated visual that also encompassed this feeling in this moment. Um, and they do align really well. Like that one hill we filmed Street Lamp on, I always came back to that mountain when I was thinking about this album, like that clear space and like 360 look
Yeah.
overlook, and that place was just so inspiring to me for some reason. I think I went on like a solo walk through that one time, and it was just so meaningful.
It's a gorgeous video.
It's gorgeous.
I
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a quick question and then I'll have another question following that. 222 as like in terms of like the Abysmal Plains universe, correct me if I'm wrong, is like a very big jump from like the original Abysmal Plains sound.
Yeah.
I have like questions about like how you kind of were exploring like the crafting of that song and like what kind of inspired you to kind of like switch it up a little bit.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I like found this keyboard in the dumpster, and so I was playing
Mm,
around with it, and I really liked the choir noise that it made. There's like a choir setting,
mm,
and it has this like I think modulator is the right word. Don't quote me on that. That like pitches the or changes the pitch.
yeah,
And so I really liked how it sounded so spooky, like
yeah,
and so I knew I wanted to do something with that, and I was just playing around and like all the harmonies. I mean, I redid them for the album, but they were all first take harmonies. Like it was just what I was doing, and I didn't even write lyrics beforehand. I was just kind of singing what I was feeling at the time, and I wanted a song because part of the conclusion of the album is like I want to find a new dream. Like for me, being in a relationship was like the most important thing to me, and like going into college, like that was the thing I was most excited about. And so I had this plan that I would like find somebody while I was in college and like I didn't even think of where I wanted to move. I was like, "Oh, I'll figure that out with my partner." Like when I
yeah,
get to that point when I was like 18, 19. And I think I was still in the back of my mind like relying on that. And so there was this from this past relationship, like this kind of schism where I was like, okay, I can't keep relying on that because that didn't work out how I thought. Like, I need to find a new dream, a new plan, and like figure something else out. So, 222 is like the ending point of that past dream where it's like, I'm all out of love. I'm empty. I'm done. I need to
yeah,
find a better way to spend my time than to keep trying and trying and trying. And so I knew I needed like a transitional song in that way. And so it is very much a transitional song. And I wanted to play around with the keyboard. And there were
yeah.
other songs on keyboard that I wanted to include. So I needed some like, which I didn't because I forgot how to play it, but I needed some kind of keyboard to do that transition from guitar to keyboard stuff. But it is kind of an odd song to release as a single, just in that it is a transitional song. It's very short. It's very different than a lot of the other stuff on the album. Like it doesn't even, it's even out of place almost in the album itself. But I loved it so much and it did like fit the mood that I was feeling.
Yeah.
And so, and it was just so inspiring visually. And we made the video. So I was like, I mean, I'm going to release it because it was like very inspiring to kind of play around with that. But it is very different. And like a lot of the songs on the album don't sound like that.
Am I crazy if I ask in the music video, like, was it you getting baptized by a man? Like, is
I
that
know.
crazy? Is that what happened? Am I seeing things
No,
like,
you're right. No, it was no, yeah, it was inspired by like baptism because it's a transition and so kind of the idea of rebirth and like
yeah,
finding a new way
yeah,
to live. I was kind of inspired by baptism. I'm also like working with churches now, which I think also like
yes,
inspired. I'm a community organizer for churches. And so that's I think was inspiring me at the time too, like going to church a lot, in different all different kinds of churches. And I grew up in the church myself. Like I got baptized by my father, like
yeah.
the whole thing. And so I think just kind of tapping into those old roots because a lot of my problems with my perception of my gender and my gender role as like a woman wanting to just get like my purpose is to be married came from the church. And so it's like kind of using church themes in that way. Um, but for like enlightenment rather than
I
needing to.
always like as like when I was watching the music video, I was like kind of jealous in the sense that I wish that there was a way to get baptized twice because the first time you don't remember. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Seeing you get baptized, I was like, that looks kind of beautiful. And like to be able to have like a new relationship and like a new sense of self, like obviously like
yeah.
it's two two two. Like that's it's a vibe.
Change.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy because you moved away. I feel like everybody started kind of slowly moving away, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what making music is like now that you're not surrounded by that same community. It's been an interesting journey, like for me, and I know it's like more so of an individual journey now, with like points where we do touch base every now and then. But how has your experience been making music away from like our like the safe space that we came from and that we created?
Yeah. No, I think the making the music part hasn't changed that much. Like it's still just me in my bedroom.
Hmm.
But the performing and sharing has definitely been a lot different. I was really scared I live in Charlottesville, Virginia right now, and I was really scared to traverse into that space. And like the spaces I had been in were really male dominated and like folky singer-songwriter dominated, which like I do have a lot of those roots, but there's also a lot of like dissonance and kind of spookiness. And I feel like it's been hard to kind of get into that scene. Just having like men come up to me at the end of like a one song open mic and being like, "I think you're out of tune." I'm like, "No, I know. I play dissonant chords. Like it's just that's how the song is written."
Yeah.
Um, and so tapping into a new scene where people don't really understand who I am or like get the vision has been really, really difficult. Which it is just like a different place. Like it's the city of Dave Matthews. I didn't think people were gonna like it when I arrived. And they've been nice. Like it's been like okay reception. Um, but yeah, it's been hard. And so I think I just need to find places that like are more welcoming to like divergent styles.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just don't see a lot of people like me here or music like that. Again, I haven't like tapped into the student scene, like the UVA student scene, which might offer me some of that. But like as far as the townie goes, it's been hard.
It's different. I know when I was having my journey,
Hmm.
this is me circling back to myself.
Yeah.
Um, continuing this like creative journey that was so supported and like uplifted in our original college town.
I wasn't scared to do something in that town because no matter what, I feel like our friends would have been
Yeah.
supportive. Whereas now, being more so on my own, like it feels like a higher risk now. It feels
Yeah.
more like it has to be good or else like it's not gonna
No, I
fly.
totally agree. It's like Boone was a pet project, but now you're like an established adult and you're like, no, I'm
Yeah.
doing the music thing. And everybody's like, oh, okay, like let's
Yeah.
try it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're taking it seriously. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's still a hobby, but like I do
Yeah.
like yeah, I totally agree.
Which I give you props for because I have seen like people slowly start to like fall off and not pursue it as much anymore. But it's been still fun, a fun journey to see us like independently still making music and discovering new things about ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like in the breaks too, I don't know if you feel this way. Do you feel more inspired or like are you just like you said earlier that you use that time to kind of write and kind of what am I again?
Process and
To
reflect.
pro yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
to process and reflect all of the bad or good things that kind of happened. What does life look like now that the project is like kind of out or done and completed?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yesterday was the first time I like picked up the guitar and started like fiddling around with stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds in terms of like what I'll actually end up doing musically. Um, right now, life is in a little bit of a liminal space. Like, um, I feel change is on the horizon, and so kind of just letting, like taking a break and letting things happen. And then once I settle down, we'll see. I mean, really, I write when like something happens to me,
Yeah,
right when I'm like in the trenches. And so if
right.
I find myself in the trenches again, you might hear me singing again. But like, um, yeah. I mean, you're catching me in a weird time too, because it's like I'm in a liminal space and
Yeah.
depressive space, very lonely. I was like thinking about what's next actually a little bit on yesterday when I picked up the guitar and started fiddling, and I was just like singing the words like the loneliest year on record. And so I don't know, I like was thinking about a project about writing about this kind of time. Um, but we'll see. I mean, really I like my best songs feel like some kind of force moving through me.
Mm.
Virginia, I wrote in one night and then like tweaked later. Green is my favorite color on this record is one that I wrote. I sobbed the whole time I was writing it and like wrote it basically in one night and like tweaked it later on. Um, but it's like when I'm really feeling stuff is when I write my best. And so I'm not really feeling that much right now. I'm just kind of like coasting. I'm
I
very attached. So we'll see. I'm like taking a break from the chaos. And I think too that's what's allowed me to write this is like I haven't dated anyone. I haven't like been on a date in a year and just like I've been vibing by myself.
I was gonna ask because one of the last times I saw you, which was maybe about a year ago, we were having a conversation about love. And as we do, as us romantic writers do,
Yeah,
um,
we
and
need.
you were, I want to say like at that point in time, not very hopeful and very like somber about it. And somber isn't even the correct word I would describe it.
I kept saying my heart's dead. I think I said
How do you feel about love and romance now? Do you feel better about it?
I feel differently about it.
I mean,
I'm
you
not
wrote,
in like I'm not in like my heart is dead period anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you wrote 222 and then you were like,
That was about that.
you said I'm reborn. Like, what does love look like to you now?
I think I'm still figuring it out. Like I know it's something I want, but it's no longer like the determining factor of my worth as a woman, which it was
Hmm.
for so long. Um, And like when I was in my heart is dead period, I just didn't like trust anybody. And also
Yeah.
I didn't trust myself to like choose a good person. Like it just felt like every person I was running into either like was using me in some weird way or like really non-committal, or like the people that I was attracting were like people who were just trying to escape something they were going through.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to be an escape either. And so I think I'm still figuring it out, but like I do want to change my relationship with that even still. And like I'm not in a period, I'm not very open to the idea right now. I'm not even thinking about it, to be honest,
Yeah.
which is new for me.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
rebirth. The rebirth is happening.
I'm burnt. I'm burnt.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be soft again. That's my goal. My goal
Yeah.
is to be soft again. My goal, I'm then like listening to Clairo. I'm like, I'm romantic. I am.
I just went on a rebellion against Miss Claro, so
I know.
I cannot support. I don't even know who you're talking about,
I,
actually. Is there a specific song on this last project? I'll just throw out there that my favorite song on the album is At Least I Know. Do you have a specific song that you would consider to be your personal favorite?
Mhm. Yeah, I think green is my favorite color. Feels like such a piece of my heart and soul. Like the whole album does, which I think is why I'm so nervous about it. But like that song I wrote, the whole time I wrote it, I was crying. Like I have a video of me writing it. There's an initial recording, and I'm like between the lyrics, like it's such a soft, sweet song, and it's also sad.
Yeah.
It was like me longing for this person that was no longer around, and it's like my love letter, like the stuff unsaid. And I mean, I went through like a pseudo psychosis, which
Wait, the way that some of these things I'm like that's so real, but like we like I yeah, I did witness that. Yes, that was real.
yeah, yes. And
Yeah.
so I like went through this little moment. I had a moment about like the things I didn't say and the things I didn't do, and like being so scared that I got my life off track into like a worse dimension. And so this song is like me screaming to the void of being like, this is what I would have said. And so it's like, if you just let me love you, like I would. Like, I don't think I ever let
Yeah.
know that, like, how I truly felt. Maybe I did, but I didn't feel like I had made that known. And so this is like my confession and like a piece of my heart and soul. So that song is really special to me. And also, I just feel like the melody is so beautiful to how I feel. Like the guitar melody feels really aligned with the emotion. And that's kind of how I write too. Like I'll start with the guitar melody and then it will pluck out an emotion out of me and then I write about that. And so I
Yeah.
had started writing the melody and then it was making me so sad and then I started like writing the lyrics and it was just this real it's really a feeling song. I feel like it comes across. Or at least like that's the one my friends cry at the shows. But
That was one of the most like standout songs in terms of like me being amongst the crowd, people going like, "Oh, like who is this?" Like she's incredible, she's such a good writer. Like it was really my favorite color is green and it's so good in terms of when I first heard the demo, like shocked at how the writing was. You managed to tap into that feeling.
yeah, and I'll still choke up at it sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's all like true in the way that like it's little snippets of things that happened with this person. At least I know now it's really reflective. I wrote that in 2020 and it was about like feeling burnt at the time, which who knew I could get more burnt?
Yeah, we were all
Slightly burnt
shocked.
at the time and
We
I was
were
like it's
shocked.
over. Yeah. But I started liking someone else. And so it was kind of this comforting thing of like at least I know that I can feel this way about someone else. Even if it's like with you. Because it was like, yeah,
Yeah.
liking someone else and then even shared myself with you. And so I have the capability to love other people because I did it with you and you suck.
Yeah. I love the melody
Imagine
of
doing it with someone who gives it back. Like that was the
I
yeah.
love the melody of that song. Like, but is there any musician that kind of like inspired you this time around? New things did you try on this album?
I think I just stayed true to my sound. Like there wasn't anyone I was particularly looking at. I mean, of course, I've always been super inspired by Mitski. I get compared to her even when I'm like writing a song I don't think it sounds like her, and people are like, "This sounds like Mitski." I'm like, "Okay." Like it's just so funny how deeply she is within me and like her artistry.
Yeah.
So I think I'm always like being inspired by her in some way, even if I'm not realizing it. And like her most recent record, The Land is Inhospitable and So Are We, I really liked the toned down warmth and like acoustic presence of that. And I was inspired by that, I think, too. I wanted to be a little bit more acoustic. I was inspired by Adrian Lenker as well. I was also like playing around with some plucking. I was learning some Big Thief songs. And so like um Late June is inspired by like Pretty Things, which I had learned. It's a really cool plucking melody. And it's not quite that, but it was like that's where I started. So I was inspired by a couple like female folk artists. Um, but I mostly was just following, I was just, most of the songs came from fiddling around on the guitar and liking it and then kind of going with that.
Do you think like this project you'll tour again, like, or you'll play live again in Boone, like go back and play? Is that like on the docket?
I definitely want to, not anytime soon because life is so crazy, but I had Grapes from Lily's reach out and they were like, "Do you want to play it in Boone sometime soon? Like maybe in the new year." And I was like, "Absolutely." So I'd love to play the new album um in its entirety. I think I would try to do maybe set up my laptop to have the vocal backups and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's definitely something I want to do, just not I can't even fathom it right now. Like I'm just crazy busy, life's up in the air. But
Yeah. I need you to because it's so Boone coded that I'm like, I need you to play it. Granted, like I will try my best to be there because I'm planning on seeing you play again, especially this project.
I want to play in New York. I want to
You
come up.
should. You definitely should come play. I wanted to wrap up this interview by saying thank you for being my first guest ever. I can't believe you're here and for
Oh,
talking to me about music. I feel like, I actually don't feel, but I know that sometimes it can be difficult to remain committed to the craft, but it's been so inspiring to see you like push out amazing work and keep creating and still stick with your guns. And like the fact that you stay true to your sound, I think has been like one of your strengths in this project as well. Um, and I can't wait to see how people receive it. And I,
yeah.
and I will be promoting the shit out of it.
You
Period.
have been.
Hmm.
Yeah, no. I mean, thanks so much for having me. I'm always inspired by you and like loved having our time in Boone and having our moment. I feel so seen by you. And our chaos and
Hmm.
love stuff. When you hear some of the lyrics, if you know me and you know the people in my life, you're gonna be like, "Oh." So
But
I'm like, I've struggled a lot with like how vulnerable I want to be, and I am very vulnerable in this album, and so I think that is just more nerve-wracking because I don't have that brazen like survival need to release. Like this is just me releasing to share the music, and so it's just a different scary
I
too, and it was a lot of fun. And it's very emotional, and
I like comparing to like the work that we do, kind of like being able to share some of the ideas or philosophies about how we feel. Like in a way, I feel like whether or not something bad has happened to us, like this is our way to seek justice and kind of like seek redemption from these horrible things that happen to us. So like it is vulnerable, and I admire you, and I feel sad that you're feeling stressed about it. And it's
yeah,
so beautiful to see it transform into something so beautiful. Like I'm sure it will help other people out there get through whatever they're going through at the time.
yeah, and that's what my therapist said too. Telling her about this, and she was like, "Oh." And she was like, it's funny that you feel that way because usually when I listen to music, I'm just thinking about me. And she was like, I think other people would just be doing that too. And
Help.
I was like, you're
Help.
so right. Because I was like, they're gonna judge me. And she was like, I think they're just gonna be like, I remember this motherfucker from my past who did some shady
It's
stuff like that. So yeah.
it's human emotion and it's like real. And the way that you write, it's very like relatable. I think we all want to write love letters, but you do it in such like a really beautiful way that it's like, how could I ever? You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking about me, but I'm like, I probably couldn't do say what she
Oh.
said. But yeah. Okay, we have to say bye to everyone. Is there anything that you want to promote and how can people find you?
Yeah, I would just say promote my album Allelopathy. I don't think I said the title once in this whole
Allelopathy, allelopathy, allelopathy.
Allelopathy. It's on all streaming platforms except for Amazon Music because I have a vendetta
Against Jeff Bezos.
with Amazon. So it's not there. Also, that's what my mom uses, so she can't listen. But no, just kidding. Um, but yeah, so I'm on all streaming platforms. I'm on Instagram under Abysmal Plains. My TikTok is just stupid baby girl 7, I think. Something like that with the name. And then I'm on YouTube also if you want to see the music videos and the old one for Virginia's for Lovers. So yeah, I'm most places. Bandcamp,
Yes.
for what I do financially.
Yeah,
Um, and you can also download it for free.
period.
So yeah, that's where I am.
And I'll even throw in her Venmo because it's well deserved.
I'm done.
I'm
And
gonna
today asked me, they're like, "Are you gonna do physical copies?" And I'm like, "I have $15 in my bank account.
that's so ill.
Not doing."
I'll leave the interview with one last quick story about my favorite moment when we were in this period of time. Granted, glorious, catastrophic, chaotic, and psychotic for everyone involved. Do you remember when we were in the car together what we said we were gonna do if everything worked out? Because we had such like a brief break from we were like both going through romance like at the same time. Do you remember that car ride when we went to the gas
Oh,
station? Where we said that we said that we were gonna die. We were gonna we were gonna die if it didn't work out. And then
oh,
rather than die, we wrote music. So
we are alive and
yeah.
well, creating.
Um,
They're mothers of the music.
we are,
We have not passed away.
we have not. And with that, please go stream the album. Please go stream the music video and share your love for Miss Abysmal Plains. I've been a fan since the very beginning, and I will remain a fan for the rest of my life.
Love you.
Love you too. Ew. Okay, I'm ending it. Hello, everyone. If you enjoyed this interview, please do a bunch of research and try to donate if you can to Western North Carolina. Not only Boone, but Asheville and other areas in North Carolina have been devastated due to Hurricane Helene. I've spent so many years of my life there, including Hannah as well. So I have some resources linked down below. If you want to donate. We're all trying to kind of make an effort to rebuild the places that we once loved. And yeah, definitely check those resources out and do the best you can. Thank you.